Yeah, I usually just that I don't even know. I started doing the podcast like maybe 2 years ago, and it just kind of was totally random. I would just hit record on my phone and then would just chat and see where it goes. So we can, if it ends up going nowhere, we can always get rid of it, I guess.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine too. I've
Yeah.
done that. I've done that at least a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
So I think did you leave a comment on Chris's page, maybe?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
listened to, I saw you pop up on Paul's, because I every once in a while I'll check his stuff. He's so hard to keep up with though. And so
Yeah.
I saw you pop up on there. Then I listened to your guys' last conversation, and he referenced the Chris one. And so then I left a comment on there because I've been curious the differences between psychedelics and fasting. And so I left a comment asking about, or saying something I'd be interested in comparing those. And then he told me to reach out to you. So
Yeah, I think he just mentioned that to me today. So I was like, okay, I think I did talk to that guy.
yeah.
Yeah, so what happened? Have you had experiences with fasting? Is that what happened? Like
Kind
what
of. I mean,
happened?
it's nothing like a, I don't know that it's like a trip, like other than maybe having dreams and stuff.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've seen, especially last year, I think I saw a lot of spiritual stuff, but I don't know that it was necessarily related to fasting. But it's, hopefully it's not picking that up. Sorry, I'm sitting outside and there's a little bit of wind, so yeah, let me know if it gets, like, if you can hear it or something. But yeah, so
Okay.
I have one experience, I've told it a few times, that was I guess it maybe is more like synchronicities kind of that happen when I'm fasting. I don't know that
Mhm.
it's not like I wouldn't call it like tripping or anything. I've heard of more people would say they'll have a lot more dreams. I think I do have more dreams when I'm fasting, but I don't know that it's not like a crazy amount. But I mean, I
I
don't
think
know.
I've heard that from other people. I haven't tried fasting that much. I can't seem to stick with it, you know.
Yeah, it's hard, and it
It is
sucks. It
hard.
sucks. It sucks the whole time. It's
Yeah.
not. It's one of those things, like I love it, and I've tried to make a lifestyle of it and everything, and then it's but it is, yeah, there's no part of it that's fun, except it gets to this point where it literally, if I could never eat again, I would choose that, because there's like this
Mhm.
point where it clicks, and it's really hard to describe. It's like there's this clarity, and it's not even like
Mm.
24/7 there's clarity, but you'll have these moments where just like everything's like you're processing information. I would think like I'll be reading the scripture and it'll just all of a sudden start making so much more sense, and I'll see like more of these parallels and patterns, and just the way, I don't know, that yeah, this clarity of mind that kind of comes along with it. And it feels like it's more, people would always say like it's keeping your body under and keeping your body disciplined, but it seems like it's kind of more of a, like my mind or something, because you're bringing your mind into, I don't know, it's turning down the volume of your flesh sort of, and then you can
Right. And then
focus
all that
clear.
extra energy kind of like goes, I don't know, more towards your
Yeah, I
mind or
guess so.
something like that, I think.
Something, who knows what
Maybe.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would so I don't know, I didn't know how you want to do this. Did you want to share some stories, or did you want me to share like anything with fasting, or
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I kind of just maybe like to hear like what's happened, you know, if you what kind of strange things have happened to you because of that. I mean, even having more dreams because you're fasting, that's kind of even that
yeah.
is strange, you know.
Yeah, like, okay, last year, the beginning of the year, it was just weird. The synchronicities, I had a lot of those last year, and it was weird synchronicities with the moon, and it got really strange. Like it was just, it seemed like there was like a full moon every single night. It was just, and which I know is not possible, but I would sleep out I'm out on the porch now, and so I'd sleep out here, like, and it was just, and then these books I would read were just talking about like different stuff with the moon, and oh crap. Are you there?
Yeah, it did freeze a little bit, but
Okay.
that's okay. It's back.
Um, yeah, and so there was stuff like that, and then these weird dreams, and then I actually had some dreams where I saw like these. I don't know if it was like that. What's that weird Christmas story where he sees three spirits? Uh,
Oh,
I always think it's,
Scrooge?
yeah, that's what I
Like
always think of. Yeah, but that's not the right one. That's the Bill Murray one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay.
I'm glad you quoted that one, because that's the one I always watch. Yeah, but it's kind of like that. I had these weird three creepy spirits I saw, and then it was just a strange year. But so that was like, that's when I was experiencing a lot of synchronicities though. Everything just kind of seemed weird. Uh, it wasn't, it sounds kind of weird when I say about the moon, but it was just this weird, like, then that kind of related into like this, um, like that I had no idea about like sonar and lunar knowledge, the whole thing with like, it's kind of, lunar is more like your intuition, your subconscious, and solar is like conscious thought. So it's just a
Right.
lot of weird stuff that just was like lining up and clicking all at once within like a month. It was, and that was weird. The strangest thing though, I can maybe run through this real fast. Sorry. I feel like I don't want to talk that much, but this, when I first started fasting, it was probably 2 years ago. And I fasted for like maybe a week, and then I thought, oh, that was pointless when I ended it. And then like a few days later, I was like, well, something happened. I don't know what it was, and I couldn't put my finger on it. So I just kept like trying to fast over and over, like just going to small ones here and there. Then I was like, you know what, I want to try 40 days. And so I tried, got like 2 weeks in, and then just failed. So I was like, I can't do
Yeah,
this
wow.
anymore. And so then it was the beginning of the year, and this was back when I had, probably a lot of people maybe have heard this story that are like close to me, because this was back when I had my dog, and she was like, back then I didn't really even know anybody either. She was just kind of like my best friend. And so I was like, at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, I'll just try, see if there's grace on it or whatever, and just try 40 days again. And so I, it was weird. I guess a lot of people do fast at the beginning of the year too, so that kind of helped. It was like, well, these people are fasting, so I'll just keep fasting. And then so I just kept going. But then the at the beginning of the fast, I remember praying this prayer, and because there's this part in Philippians where it says like, where Paul's saying like he wants to partake of Christ's sufferings that he may attain to being more like Christ and everything. And so I prayed this prayer, and I was like, praying to God, and I was like, I want to partake of Christ's sufferings and suffer the loss of all things and count them as rubbish. And so I guess I didn't send him sounding bad, but then so I fasted and ended up like, I know it's all, uh, by God's grace, but I got fasted 40 days, and then literally the day I ended my fast, that day was the day my dog died.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, it was terrible, but then at the same time, it was like, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but it
Wow.
was like,
Well,
she got sick, and then like right towards the end of it, and then like literally it was just, I didn't know she was sick, and then it just, her health plummeted like right at that last weekend. And so I took her to the ER, and then that Monday was when the 40th day, and then I took her from the ER vet to my normal vet, and that's when they told me I had to put her down. And then, but it was just like the state of mind I was in, like that's why I think that was the most powerful thing to me, because I don't think I could have done that fast without God's help, and then I would not have been able to handle it, because it was just this peace just like filled the room. And I just remember like it was probably one of the only moments in my life where I would have been like, I could have, like, it was kind of clear that Christ was there, or an angel was there or something. It was just,
mm,
I've never felt such peace, and like, uh, yeah, I mean, it sucked afterwards, of course, really bad, but
yeah,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
better than not having that, right? And
yeah. So I kind
yeah,
of, the way that lined up was just kind of absurd. But
yeah,
then I also kind of attribute how, the state of, I guess, being in the right place, like the right state of mind, and being able to handle it and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah,
Um, how did you feel after 40 days of not eating? I mean,
it's
were
tough.
you like going about your days normal and, having energy and stuff like that? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I personally, some people say they get really weak. I personally feel better when I'm fasting.
hmm,
I guess that maybe I'm one of those people, when I get full, I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I'll just
yeah,
lay in
I
bed.
fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get so tired after I eat.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that kind of makes sense, man. Okay. So you mentioned having like maybe a time where there was a lot of synchronicities too. Was that before or after that happened, or was it
That
anywhere
was,
near that time, or
after, I've had, when I first started trying, fasting. So before my dog passed away was when I was kind of just getting into it, a few months before that. And then a lot of the fast, I seemed to like think clear, and I'd be reading scripture and get, so I was kind of doing it for that reason. And then it started to become for that reason. So then I kind of had to check myself, and I was like, well, I can't, you know, it, you can't have it as a crutch sort of thing, I guess.
right?
So, just having to watch that also. And so I didn't see a lot of synchronicities then, maybe some dreams, and things just seemed to open up clearer mentally. And so I was kind of doing that. And then the next year, I don't remember having a whole bunch of like breakthrough. There does not a whole lot of synchronicities, but then last year, the beginning of last year was when I had a bunch of them. It was just like it was a guy in the Discord server actually, I want to try to talk to him at some point, but Christian Golden, do you
I've seen his name
yeah,
everywhere.
he was making
Oh
like,
wait, you know what? He's in the art group, I think. He just doesn't participate as often recently, but he's like he makes music, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
he
yeah.
introduced me to this author, George MacDonald, and then that kind of opened up a lot of stuff too. And then that kind of the beginning of that prayer, like that year too, I prayed like for that God would try to speak to me more through imagination and stuff like that. And then that was when the synchronicity started happening and all that weird stuff with the moon. And I don't know, it was just
Interesting.
yeah. I got
So you
really
asked for it.
yeah. I usually get what I asked for, and it's not always like what I'm thinking either. But
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
yeah.
Huh. So have you done psychedelics too?
No, I
Like,
have not. That's why I wanted to
okay.
ask you. I'm hesitant to do them like or even try them because I'm like I don't know.
Yeah,
But
rightly so. It's yeah,
right. So
yeah, rightly so. Yeah, huh. Okay, well, I haven't managed to fast for more than a little bit at a time, so there's only so much I can compare to, but I do know a little bit of that clarity and I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's when your brain starts burning your own body fat or something. I've heard it's like ketosis or whatever it is what people who are dieting call it, and it's supposed to like give you a lot of clarity or something. So I know a little bit about that, but um man, I don't know. Psychedelics are so different, I guess, because it just hits you all at once, you know?
mhm.
It just hits you all at once and you're just like on a ride. You like is I think is probably how I would describe it. Instead of this purposeful process that you're putting yourself through, like voluntary. Do you know what I
Yeah.
like? Instead of walking yourself through it.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just such a flood of information. Um, And do you know that strange feeling that you can get? I don't know if this will resonate or not, but when you have like a synchronicity or a weird, maybe like a deja vu or a really vivid dream or something, you get that funny feeling, like almost like the hair on the back of your neck, kind of thing where you go, I don't know where this is going. Like I don't know where this is coming from or where it's going, like kind of uncanny or something.
Yeah.
I associate that with like taking psychedelics. It's like you go, oh, I don't know where this is going. I don't.
So how like coherent are you? Is it more like kind of you go into a dream or what?
It's like this is just how I have experienced it, but it's like everything's normal. If you take something, let's say you take some mushrooms, everything's normal. You're sitting there, you're waiting, and then it's just things start to get strange, I think is the first thing that happens. I haven't done like a crazy amount or anything like that, so probably somebody else have to speak to that, but um things just get strange. Like the walls might start kind of like moving and you go, oh, I don't know what that's about. And it's just that sense of like
Yeah, that's what I
losing control. Like
yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen next. Like something so unexpected as like the walls moving. And they're not, maybe like or maybe they always are moving and you just don't know. You know what I like you
Yeah.
can't tell because you're getting this strange sensory information. And
Hmm.
it's this such a flood of information is what it feels like that your brain can't like make it's like for me it's like I pick up all these extra patterns that I don't normally see, and it's just like they shine through things. I don't know how to describe it. You just have to you have to have the experience, I guess, but it's almost like they shine through whatever weird shit you're seeing, and you can see some other thing binding it together, or I don't know how to describe it, but you've seen like psychedelic art, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like those lines that move and there's a lot of geometric stuff, and it's to me it's like the feeling of that, and then those kind of works of art like visualize more of like a feeling, because it doesn't to me seem like like you see, like you
Mhm.
see it with your eyes, you see it like with your other eye, you know, like
Yeah,
you see it in your mind's eye.
hmm I
Yeah,
know. Yeah,
so
that's what I was gonna ask you. If it's so, it's not like a natural sight. It's kind of like this, kind of like
I think so.
an intuitive sight or something. Or yeah,
I
yeah,
think so. I think it's more of your yeah, the way that you daydream and you see things, you know, like the way
yeah.
that when you imagine something, like you're not seeing anything, but it's there, you know, like it's present with you, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I would think that, to me, I think that stuff is real. Like I think it's real.
yeah,
So
I think it's real. I don't know what it means to be real though. Like, is it real in the sense that it's like the most true thing, or is it the um like I don't know, like it's a representation of something that's outside of, I don't know, it's like I don't even know how to talk about it, but it's like I don't think just because you see something in a trip it's like it's a true thing. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? Like in the truest sense. It's like it might be showing you something. And I think that's legitimate. Like the thing that you see is legitimate to you, but that doesn't mean it's like the reality always as such. You know, like it's
Yeah,
the you have to like take like I don't know. I don't know if that's making sense, but you get these such overwhelming things going on, and then it's like people always ask, they're like, so is it real or is it not real? It's like, well, it happened to you. So it's, I mean, it's real in that sense, right? Like,
yeah. That's
how
yeah,
much more real do you need it to be? Like, do you
yeah.
have to like measure it or something? Like it counts for something. It's showing something. It
Mhm.
might not be like showing something that's good for you even, or, you know, leading you in a good direction, but it's real.
It's yeah, it's affecting
Yeah.
your consciousness and it's affecting your
Yeah.
life in that way. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
dreams are real too, because it's like you're not in your bed asleep when you're dreaming. You're off
Yeah. Where
somewhere
are you?
else. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the weird I had a weird thing. This didn't happen to me, but I had a friend actually. He had a dream, and this girl in his that he knows had something like in his dream. She had some sort of key that he needed, and so he ended up, I think he talked to her in the dream. I'm not sure. And then like the next day she called him and said that she had a dream about him and had something to give him or something like that. Like it was weird. They're both of them somehow met up in a dream world. And I'm like, oh, that's unexplainable. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get really weird, I mean, I think everything touches in that other place. Like
What's the
it's,
other
you know
place?
what I mean? Like there's like like your imagination, like
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things aren't just like made up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
some of it is like sometimes you're just directing
Yeah.
yourself through a daydream or something like that, you know.
hmm But
Um
it still has, I mean, it still has meaning. So it's, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of, I guess, kind of like you said, the definition of real. Because to me, that's still real in a sense, because it's affecting you and it's changing you. Even if you're just
right.
daydreaming, yeah,
Yeah, it's really happening. Like you can't just like block it out and be like that doesn't count, you know.
yeah,
It's like that. But I don't know. I think it was hard for me I don't know if this is right. This is just how I'm thinking about this now. But I used to think in a very like materialistic way just because that's how everybody kind of around me thinks. I mean, I think our culture kind of thinks that way, right? And after kind of processing these experiences, psychedelic and not psychedelic, I mean, just regular strange things, you know, or religious experiences, um it just doesn't look like that's the way it works. It looks like everything's all connected in this other way. We just can't, you can't see it, you know what I mean? Like there's I don't know how to describe it. It sounds, it's like it can get, it can start to sound like new agey or something
yeah,
really quick, you know, and that's not it's not what I mean.
yeah. No, I know. Like I'm the same way, even with fasting. Like I fast. Like most people around me would say I fast like all the time. But it's the same way. They'll be like, why do you do it? And I'm like, it's hard to describe. Like it's hard to put into, there's not the right language for it or something.
Well,
And I'm like,
something's compelling you to do it.
yeah, it's more than just a clarity of mind. It's like there's something that's changing inside. There's so many different reasons. And then it's, yeah, I don't know. So I like, I understand where you're coming from. Trying to describe it's pretty hard, especially when you're getting into
It's
Yeah.
weird, yeah. And people do have dreams like that where they have a shared dream, or I've never done this, but people who go take ayahuasca together, they'll all have the same experience at the same time.
Yeah.
What's
That
that
sounds
about?
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can dismiss it, but I mean, why would you? I mean, like
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
would they make that up? It doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I think, like you were talking about, the moon and the sun and the moon, like the different kinds of consciousness, and like are you into Jungian stuff at all, or is that
I've never,
the
I
other
saw
thing?
that I heard on your thing, on your other talk, that you're reading Ion, and I've never, so I was kind of, I've heard that book's crazy. I don't know. I've never read any of Jung, but then sometimes I'll
Yeah.
talk to people and they'll be like, well, and they hear me talk, they'll say, well, you'd like Jung. And I'm like,
Yeah, you
the
sound
most
like
I've,
you might, but
yeah, the most I've gotten from him is maybe a trickle down through like Jordan Peterson or something. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's not a bad way to encounter Jung.
Yeah.
I feel like he sums it up pretty well a lot of the time.
So how's the Ion though? Is that how you say it? Aeon? Aeon?
Yeah, Ion, Aeon,
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I think it's probably interchangeable. It's a crazy book. I don't know that you should just pick it up and read it, to be perfectly honest. I kind of feel like about Ion how I feel about psychedelics now, where I'm like, you should probably be careful
Mhm.
with this book. I've read it for years, so it's like,
I
I don't
heard
know. I'm
I heard
just
you have
getting
to get
used to it.
Yeah, I heard you have to get familiar with like his language because he uses certain
Yeah.
terms. You have to understand what he means by them.
He
But
uses certain terms, and then he's coming from a sort of um like, I don't know if I want to say like philosophical framework, or but just the standpoint that he's coming from is not ordinary. It's very like you have to figure out how he's using the terms, how he's like constructing, what you can know and what you can't know, and how we interact with, like, how we interface with the world. And it's also really helpful to know like Jordan Peterson's thing about like known territory and unknown territory. I feel like that
Mhm.
was so helpful in understanding Jung, because Jung doesn't talk about that, but it's just like this added layer that goes, oh, you're like, that's what he's getting at, is that there's the known things that we run around in, and then we bump into these unknown things, and that's where everything weird comes in usually.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, he's got some interesting ideas, but just that's kind of where to like working out this idea of maybe like things are all connected behind the scenes, right? Like we kind of like everything looks very separate how we're running around with it. It's like, but it's really not. It's like the way we categorize things and orient ourselves. Like it just makes it easier for us to move around in the world if we break everything, if everything's broken apart, right? But it doesn't mean that that's the way it is. And I
mhm,
think when you take psychedelics, a lot of the time, the things that happens is people have that crazy experience of like everything is like it's all one thing. Like it's not all split apart. It's also all together.
yeah.
Um, which sounds weird,
It does
but
sound new agey. Yeah.
it does. But that's not like there's probably a way to say it if I could, find the proper orthodox way to say it or something like that that wouldn't sound new agey. It's like I think probably like when Moses encountered the burning bush, not in a psychedelic way, like not like that at all, but encountering like being in its fullness as it could be incarnated, something like that.
Mhm,
And you just get hit with this like, whoa, like what is it? God says his name is like I am, like,
mhm.
so it's like, what is I am? It's like that to me, that sounds like reality. That sounds like everything all at
Yeah,
once all the time or something. I don't know how to
yeah.
talk about that,
They're
but
all existing on
yeah, and that's
the
what the mystics experience, and that's what like prophets I mean, it's not, it's just like it can happen on psychedelics. It probably happen on like with fasting,
yeah,
probably happen with contemplative states, and like the monks and the priests who are praying all day. I mean, what are they experiencing? Something akin to that, I would suppose.
yeah.
um
So it's
yeah.
kind of when you would when you have taken psychedelics, you kind of encounter that some sort of
I did
I
the
guess, is
one
it
time.
collective consciousness or no? Or
I don't know what to
yeah,
say. People use that term like ego death or something, which it's like over, I don't know, something is off-putting to me about it, but
yeah,
I think it's where you kind of hit on whatever transcends your normal small thing here, um somehow, and don't know, I'm not even, that's not even like saying like that's God or something like that, but it gives you this intimation, or it gives you like this glimpse of something that is what, it's just so incomprehensible compared to
Uh,
normal, that you
I can
suddenly
imagine.
go, oh, like
Yeah.
there's a lot more than I thought there was. And
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't know anything. Like, oh, my place is not to like pretend I know everything or know how this works. Or
So it's very
um
humbling at the same
it
time.
was to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
Yeah.
But that
I
doesn't
think,
always happen, right? Like that's just a some that's a it can happen,
yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like even in fasting, there's times where like it feels like there's something up here that I'm grabbing at, and I just can't get it down into like words. And I'm like, I don't. There's like you can kind of get it. It's yeah. I can't describe it. It's like it's making sense in your head, or it's like trying to click, but it's like you can't find the right language for it yet.
Yeah.
You just got.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know if you like need to put all those things into words too, right? Like maybe it's not supposed to be talked about. Maybe it's like it needs to stay
Keep it
like
in the cooker.
as an experience. Yeah, like
Yeah,
as a thing you can't just
definitely.
nail down, you know? Like
Uh-huh.
it's like really special that way. It's like fleeting or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always want to nail it down because we want to be able to measure things and have them under our thumb. But yeah, that
Yeah.
never seems to work that way.
No.
Um,
Yeah, so the time I did have a big like crazy mystical trip, I tried to do it again the next time. I might have talked about this with Paul, I can't remember, but I tried to get the same feeling, right? I was trying to chase it and like grab it. I'm like, that was amazing. You know, that was like crazy. I gotta do it again. You know, it's so meaningful. You're like, I just need something meaningful.
yeah,
And try to do it again, like on purpose, be like, okay, I'm trying to like get that. And it was horrible. Like
really.
I had such a bad time because of, I think part of that was trying to replicate something that had been almost like a gift or something like that, you know, is like a
That's
little,
interesting.
yeah, like a little bit of grace in the one experience. And then I go, I want more, you know, I need like keep like give me
Yeah,
more of that. And it was like, nope, that's not how this works.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't get to do that. So
So
yeah.
what have you tried, if you mind me asking?
Um, let's see, I started with some acid, which some people don't like, I've heard, but that's just what came around first.
Is that what changed your art? Did you say your art
Yeah,
changed after that? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
big
your art's
time.
it's amazing. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't draw like that before.
Okay.
Yeah, it just switched and it became really colorful and really vivid, and I never did that before. Like my drawings were pretty bland, you know, before, a lot of like black and white, more like realistic looking or something, you know,
Hmm.
trying to be realistic. I wasn't like wonderful at it. And then after that it was like bright colors, like over the top bright colors. I try to tone it down sometimes and it just won't. Um
Yeah.
yeah, it got weird though. And like like too like this symmetrical thing, and like this either kind of an up like above below kind of thing, or a like symmetrical, or you know, circular. Like there just seemed to be like
Hmm.
a form to it that I
Is
was
that what
trying to,
that's what you saw when you tripped, or no? Or that
I
just
didn't
what how you?
see it. It's just what came out after.
Huh.
Like
That's interesting.
yeah, I didn't, and I didn't do it on purpose either. Like I've been, like I haven't known what I've been doing. Like I've just
Yeah.
been doing it, you know, like trying to figure
That's
out, okay, that was wild. What happened? How do I
yeah.
like reorient myself to understand that, is like,
So you're like pulling it out of like intuition or like inner, like
yeah,
not
just
it's not a
letting it
conscious.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's not a
it's the
conscious
lunar, it's the
thing.
lunar thought. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the moon. It's the
it's
moon.
lunar. Yeah, it's
I
lunar.
don't know. Yeah.
But it, yeah, it just, I don't know where it's, I looked at, I got all my drawings out the other day to try to see, I'm like, what do I have? You know, I was trying to redo my website. I'm like, what do I even have? Laid everything out. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, I don't feel like I
Yeah.
did all those things. You know, it just doesn't feel, it feels like just something else. So, it doesn't always feel like that. Like sometimes I draw and I'm just, you know, goofing around, but sometimes with those big drawings, especially if I'm trying to process some like big idea or conflict or something, it just kind of like
Yeah.
comes out that way. Yeah.
So when you did your trip though, did you like go somewhere like consciously, or were you still like aware you were
I
sitting in the
was
room or something, or
Yeah, I was aware of my surroundings and everything. It's not like when people say like hallucinogen, it kind of calls up this idea that you're like hallucinating in a way that's like you don't know where you are or things look completely different. And it's like they do look different, but I think that they look different because the category of what you thought the thing was is gone. I don't know how else to describe it except in these weird terms, but you look at something and you go, I don't know what that is now. Like now it's many things, or now I'm noticing these details that I never would have seen before. Like how if you see the same person every day, like if your roommate or your parents or something, you look at them and you know their face, and then one day you stop and double take and you go, oh, is that really what you look like? Like I don't look at you anymore because I just kind of know what's there and I dismiss it and keep moving.
yeah,
And it's like that with everything. It's like you look at something and go, I've never really looked at that before. So it's not like at least to me, they don't look different in a way that's like
incomprehensible. It's just
yeah, it's not like strange, like when people do like the effects for videos or whatever for psychedelics, it's like these pulsing colors and like maybe if you take DMT or ayahuasca, I don't know, but I haven't I'm not going there probably. So
yeah.
but just as far as I know, it's not quite like that. It's just this stream of information that's abnormal. Like I don't know how to um
It's kind of like
describe it.
pulling back a veil or something, or just taking
Yeah,
a deeper look into.
I think so because I think a lot of the time we run around like we have these images of what things are, right? But it's not the thing.
Hmm.
It's just we have this constructed image of the thing so we can interact with it. You go like I know what this person is. This is they do this and they're always like this. And then suddenly you see like, oh, they're not like that. Like I don't know what that is. There's a bunch of things going on that I wasn't taking into account. So just like we tend to just narrow things down, for ease of like action. You have to be able to act in the world. If there's that much information coming at you all the time, you couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
um so you don't want to be like that all the time, but if it's like you're stuck, I think sometimes if you're stuck in like a really bad pattern and you just can't see your way out,
hmm,
I still wouldn't recommend it to anybody necessarily, but I think that's when it can be really helpful is like to kind of like snap you out of something that you're really stuck in, like a weird depression where you're caught on something you just can't see your way out of, or like I don't know, because
yeah,
that's kind of where I was, is I was like stuck in this weird like whirlpool of things and I just couldn't like get out of it. But then you get hit with all this new information, you go, oh, things aren't what I thought they were. I have to reevaluate everything, like restock everything,
yeah,
like, and that can be really good.
yeah.
But
I
that could
get it.
happen without psychedelics too. It just kind of
Yeah.
the force of it sometimes or the weirdness of it.
So it's kind of this humbling experience where it kind of breaks down your preconceived categories and ideas in a way, and
I
helps you
think so.
to yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
That's
so.
I think there's similarities there with fasting, or at least that I've experienced where it does that. And even getting stuck in a rut. Sometimes I've done that before. Where I'm like, man, I need to go on another fast, get myself out of this, kick my butt into gear. But yeah, I mean, there's the weird thing is it seems like there's similarities. That's what I'm kind of curious about. And but there's obviously, I mean, obvious differences too. But
I think
yeah.
there's something to be said for the whole idea of like disruptive techniques, I guess you might call it.
Hmm.
Like okay, so basically what we're kind of dancing around is sort of altered states of consciousness, right? And
Yeah.
altered states of consciousness doesn't have to be like like substance induced, right?
Yeah.
It can be like like drumming and dancing in a circle for 8 hours and you like go into an ecstasy, or like
Hmm.
or fasting, or like
Something as
going
simple
into
as
a
drinking coffee too. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that sometimes you can, yeah,
Yeah,
your
I mean,
pupils dilate when you
but-
drink coffee and you get all
yeah.
this extra light coming in. And
I mean, I'm drinking coffee
yeah.
right now, but it kind of lifts you. And I used to smoke a lot too. And then last year I hadn't smoked in years, and I was just craving it so bad all year. And so I tried it, and it was kind of disappointing, but it was weird. I could feel this coming down. It was weird. Like I can't describe it any other than it felt like someone was kind of pressing on me, and like
Hmm.
uh I could feel like my thoughts weren't quite as clear after that. In a way, it was weird. So it did,
Interesting.
even that just hit of nicotine, and
Yeah.
maybe some people, their thoughts would be clear because otherwise they get stressed without it or something. So, but
Yeah.
it definitely had an effect on my consciousness. So even something as small as that, yeah, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of,
I
like you
mean,
said,
drinking is called, it's, yeah, they're called spirits. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
alters your consciousness in a way that changes your person, like your outward personality. Like you
Hmm.
start expressing yourself differently.
Yeah,
So like psychedelics is one way to do it. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's so hard. I want to talk about it, but I have this weird thing where I don't want to make it sound like I'm like everybody should go do psychedelics now because it's awesome. Like
yeah,
that's not, I don't want to be
yeah,
like that, but you know, at the same time, I think we should like talk about it. So I don't know where to sit with that, but
yeah. I'm not sure how to balance it either. That's why I'm like kind of curious about it, because it's I'm like, and this probably make a lot of people I know mad, is that I'm on the fence about it, because a lot of people would be more like really hard line, like don't ever touch the stuff or anything. But like I said, I think there's so many different like forms of yeah, of altered state of consciousness. And so I'm like, I wouldn't throw it out. And even people like you mentioned Moses before and stuff, and the whole burning bush, and I've heard people say that before too, like it was some psychedelic plant. But I'm like, to
like,
me, yeah, I don't necessarily believe that, but then at the same time I'm like, why does that matter? Like it's
I
like
know,
like even if it was like, did you write the first 5 books of the Bible? That stuff is so
I
deep and so
know,
profound. I'm like, what? So who cares? Like, and
I
it's
know, I know.
like, I think Jordan Peterson said that, he was like, it's more true because it happens to everybody all the time. Like that's what makes it more true than like whether Adam was real or not. It's like that doesn't matter because you're Adam, I'm Adam. Like it happens to every single person. That story in the garden.
Yeah,
So it's like, to write something like that, even if you like
exactly.
were,
See,
yeah, I
but they
don't.
want to like, I don't know what it is about psychedelics right now. I mean, but it's such a like, it has so much energy behind it, right? People get excited
Mhm,
when they
yeah,
talk about it. Either they don't like it or they really like it. And other people are like, I don't care or I don't know about it, you know, but then there's like these opposites. Like there's a lot of energy under the thing. I don't know
uh-huh,
what that's about, but like they almost want to say like if it was psychedelics, then we know what it was. And it's like, but you still don't. Like I don't
yeah,
get why it makes it like easier to wrap your head around because still it's a wild thing to happen.
yeah, yeah,
So whether or not it was with psychedelics, yeah, and I think Peterson has said that about Revelation, that he thinks it's a mushroom trip. And I'm like, really? Like you don't think like
but to
like
me, I'm like, even if it was like, I guess that's where I'm at. I'm like, even if it was, why would you throw that out? Like, why is that? Why does that mean it just? Why does that
yeah,
make
I
it
don't
meaning? That doesn't make it meaningless. I guess is my point.
no, and I don't think it makes it more meaningful either. It's
Yeah,
like it doesn't
exactly. Yeah,
like what is it? What are you trying? I don't know. It's like there's a weird thing about people want to go, oh, it was psychedelics. And I don't get
yeah,
that. I'm not
yeah.
sure
I don't
what
like.
that's
I
about.
wouldn't go around saying that personally, but then at the same time, I'm like, well, you could do the same thing with the whole dream thing. Like, so Joseph had a dream in the Bible, and it's, you could be like, oh, it's just a dream, but
Yeah.
it's like that had
It's like,
meaning. Yeah,
well, yeah,
yeah,
like a huge meaning, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
wasn't it foretelling the like the not the plague, but the famine or something like
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's wild. But we're not going to talk about that. We just want to
yeah,
talk about how like it was a DMT bush or something. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
we're going to skip the whole like he had a crazy altered state of experience that's
Mm-hmm.
like inspired, you know, the huge major religion. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just we're like
yeah,
missing the point, right?
yeah,
Like that's not the point. So
yeah.
yeah,
If
I
I
don't
went
know.
up on a mountain and this bush lit on fire, and even if it was some psychedelic bush, I'd still be like, what the shit? like I didn't
Yeah, it's
do
still
this. Come
crazy.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
matter either which way. So I don't know. It's like there's just so much like energy behind the psychedelics thing.
hmm,
But I think we should like I'm interested in talking about any type of altered, you know, state of consciousness. That's interesting to me. Like
yeah,
it can happen to you spontaneously. You can just, you know, jump into a really weird time all of a sudden. That
yeah,
happens to people. It happens all the time and nobody will talk about it because, you know, that makes me crazy or like It's like, no, that's like, I think it's a normal human, like, it's a normal human thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but we're really dismissive of our like religious, I don't know, tendencies that we don't know what to do with. It's like, I think that's what they are. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's weird. I'm interested in it too, in all the different kinds. Yeah, I'm very cautious with the psychedelic thing though, because it does kind of almost seem like a fad or something. Like it's kind of taken off, and uh, I would I'd be more worried that people wouldn't treat it with the proper reverence or something. Like I feel like there needs to be,
yeah,
if you are gonna dabble in it, like maybe be respectful in a way, I guess, and don't
I
just,
think
I don't
so.
know, but
That's my opinion, but I tend to take things like really seriously, or whatever. Like you can only do it if you're really serious. It's like that's probably not the right attitude exactly either, but yeah, with some caution. But the thing is like I also get why you're like a bored kid or you're in college and you're like, okay, everything around me is meaningless. This is
mhm,
like nothing makes sense. I don't have like anything to stand on really. And you go like, why not? Like, why would I
yeah,
not do this?
mhm,
Because, people say it's great. Why would I not, like let myself in on this thing? So like I can't like I get why people are doing it. But
yeah,
then if you talk to like maybe more religious or conservative, people, they're just like they can't seem to understand why you might even be drawn to it, I think. Or they'll have trouble, maybe it's the chaos of it, like you're opening yourself to like weird things, right? Like
yeah,
something weird might happen.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
you'll lose your mind, or I don't know, or you're opening yourself. I guess too, there's like you're opening yourself maybe to like demonic forces or really negative forces,
yeah,
which I think is true. Like nothing like that happened to me necessarily, but you're opening yourself to something. I mean, and there's definitely things out there. Like
yeah.
that's real.
Have you
So
ever encountered anything, or
not on psychedelics.
yeah,
Um, and not in like a major way like I had it, but in ways where you go like, okay, there's something, it's in that realm of things that you kind of can't catch, like I don't know what to call it. I've heard it called like maybe the imaginal realm, or
hmm,
like Jung was into something called active imagination, which Peterson described as him conversing with like his subpersonalities or unconscious person or autonomous subpersonalities, something like that. I don't know, but basically what he's
yeah,
saying is he's talking to like a spirit of something,
hmm,
right?
yeah.
And you can think what you want about that, but
No, I'm like I'm tracking with you. I'm probably,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean
That
that
makes sense to me.
happens. It happens to people. I don't know if I
Yeah,
should say this. I talked to one guy who had this really horrible thing happen, in his family, and afterward he had like a demon with him. He dreamt
yeah.
about it all the time.
Oh
I
dang,
mean, yeah,
that's rough.
like it haunted him, and it was like it's not like you see it like in the movies or whatever, in a
Yeah,
horror movie, but it's there
yeah.
as like a force or like as an influence or something.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So
Sometimes you can just feel it, like a presence, and then other times, there's been time the weirdest. Well, there's been times where I've seen things in dreams. The weird thing, I one time I saw it's the, like the hag, like if you had a hag in any movie, like the old lady in Snow White,
yeah,
like that face. Yeah, it was
yeah.
basically her face, except a real person's
Uh,
face, like that. And I woke up, and it was like right there. And it was waking up like out of a dream. So I'm half awake, half asleep. And I sat up and went through her face, and I was just like convulsing because I was so scared. And then my younger sister saw the same lady in her dream. Like it's just weird. The exact
really?
same lady. Yeah. Yeah. So I've had things like that. And then one time I had in my old house, I remember, and this was where it was like I couldn't see it with my eye. So when I first bought my house, I could go through some crazy stories. The weirdest thing was having something actually manifest in the natural. But when I first bought the house, it was just messed up, like crazy, like just bad dreams, just bad vibes all the
Hmm.
time. But and my dog, Verona was her name. When she was a puppy, she would sit, and so you'd go in the front door, and then like immediately to your right were like these stairs, and then there's a corner, and then they'd go up and then turn and then keep going up. And so right in that corner, she would just sit in the living room and bark at that corner of the wall. And I was just like,
Mhm.
I'd just be sitting there like, stop it. I know you see something and I can't see it. So then after she died, it
Oh,
was, I think that summer after she died, um, I was just sleeping out on my back porch. And then all of a sudden, like it was, I can't even describe it. It was just like, there's a verse in Exodus actually that I think describes it, where the darkness comes over the Egypt, and it says a darkness that can even be felt. And that's kind of what it was like. All of a sudden my porch was just like, didn't get physically darker. It was just like, what the heck is going on here?
wow.
And so I just started praying, and then I like went in my house and I was just walking around trying to pray. And then it was literally like out of nowhere. It was just like I could see it, but I couldn't see it. And it was this tall, like black outline of a figure, like right in the corner where she used to bark.
Mm.
And it was just like, it was weird. It didn't really freak me out. It just kind of made me mad because I was like, what the, like, kind of like, what the hell are you doing here? Sort of thing.
Get out of
But it
my
was,
house.
yeah, yeah. But it was just like, it was really weird because it was the clearest I could have seen something without seeing it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like it was,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I mean. I mean, like you can, I think maybe like probably maybe if you're like, I don't know, certain type of personality or something, like you're just more sensitive maybe to weird feelings and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, and things come in. So that's what I mean about like, you're opening yourself and you don't know what it's to. I mean, but like that
Yeah,
happened and you didn't ask for it, right? But things just show up.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that can happen with psychedelics. I think it might be more likely to happen to you too if you take psychedelics. I can't say that with any certainty. I just have a feeling
yeah.
because people I've talked to say something like, I think I'm more open to things now. Like it unlocked something, like that door doesn't get, locked. Like it doesn't lock back up. Like you open something and it kind of
Can't go back.
stays a little bit open. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so you said you tried acid, and then you tried shrooms also? Is that what
Yeah,
you
I
said?
did mushrooms for like a bit. I didn't do anything crazy though, because I'd had enough crazy
Yeah.
times with the acid. I was like, I don't need to dive too far in, to
Are they
but I,
different?
I was curious. I think so. I think other people describe them differently too. Something about kind of being able to feel that it's a plant, that it's organic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've heard some people say that they don't have a bad time as often or ever on the mushrooms versus acid, which I've heard can feel more mechanical or I don't know how that could be. I didn't feel that, but I had no reference point, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think there's probably something to the mushrooms having almost like their own character or like their own way of showing up that's probably better in a way than something that's made, like
Mhm.
man-made monster
Hmm.
some man-made monstrosity or something. It's like it's a plant.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
So it
it
does.
just
It
grows
kind of
that
has a
way.
different feel, sort of. Is what
I
you're
think
saying, a
so.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I felt like
yeah.
it was more like I almost want to say like playful or something
Huh.
in
Yeah.
a weird way. I don't know how to describe it. Just that the overall experience was almost like more childlike or like I remember laughing a lot.
Hmm.
I do remember laughing a lot and just being like being pretty happy about it. Whereas with the acid, it was like either really good or really bad or just like whoa, but um it wasn't like gentle, I guess,
That's
almost.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
hard to describe. And I don't have like a ton of other like things to compare it to. I've only really done those and smoked enough weed and whatever and that, but
And whatever,
and
whatever.
whatever, but yeah, but I'm not like a crazy like some people they're up for anything. They're like,
Yeah.
you know, they're combining things, they're taking a little of this, a little of that, but I'm not doing that. I've had enough.
Is that enough?
Yeah,
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know what to do with it. I just like it got me started on something and I feel like that was really good. And then, I kind of circulate with a certain like Paul's, like comment section, his crowd or something like that. And people are like, we don't want to talk about psychedelic. Like, no,
Oh yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bad. And you just go, wait, but this was really good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think this is really good. Have you heard that guy Kalepa talk to somebody about his psychedelic trip? He had like
Did,
this long video.
I think I did watch that. I can't. Yeah, and he went through
That
a
guy's
bunch of.
tried everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he doesn't he say he like people that do them now, he kind of tries to lead them on it or something, or like direct them in a
Yeah,
way or something. Yeah.
yeah, he did say that. I mean, that would terrify me. I wouldn't. Oh man, I would be.
It would terrify you to direct people or to do
Yeah,
it.
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Like imagine taking that responsibility. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
God bless him, but like, ah, like I don't know about it.
Yeah, that's a lot
It's
of
sad because
responsibility.
like, yeah, it's sad because we like don't have any like if you're gonna be like a shaman, right? You call him like I think the word he used was shaman, right? You're gonna lead somebody through a religious experience, basically.
Mhm.
Uh it's so sad we don't have a culture of that. Like we don't have a tradition of that. We don't have a way of doing that that's passed down from like, you know, a spiritual father to a spiritual son. Do you know what I mean? Like that passed on wisdom that was normally a thing in other cultures. We don't have that. So
Yeah.
it's just people are just going out and they're doing whatever occurs to them, which they have to do basically because we're in this spiritual crisis, like like
Yeah.
the West is in this spiritual
Yeah.
crisis and everybody goes, whatever works, and we're all just like, I'm gonna do whatever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like a big experiment, but
Would you say that psychedelics, could you say it's kind of like fast tracking into different forms of revelation or in a way, or no?
maybe, but I don't know if it works for everyone too. Like I gotta
Yeah.
say, like at that time, I was really focused on really specific things. So like
Okay.
I was reading a lot of like I was reading Jung, I was reading about the early church, I was reading like, the Dead Sea Scrolls or something. Um, I was like focusing on like these religious problems all the time. And I don't know what it'd be like if you weren't doing that. Like if you're, if you do it for fun,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you're like, you go to a party or go to a concert or I don't know, and you like, I don't know what's gonna happen. People are fine, people do it. I can't imagine doing that. Um, so maybe it does, but then again, it might depend on you as a person, like if maybe that's where you're going already and you kind of like jump in. But too, like I had a really bad time after those experiences because I had to sort out like all my big problems after that, like made my problems really clear. And that was really painful. Like that sounds good, right? Like,
Yeah.
yay, growth and development.
Oh,
And
I
it's
don't know.
like,
It's not
it's like,
fun.
no, it was really bad.
Was it kind of, yeah, do you mind like describing that at all or no?
I
Or is that
think
too
I
personal?
made, I don't know, I can try. Like, I don't want to get into like the super details, but I can, like, I don't know if, okay, so I made this drawing like Jonah, like falling into the whale.
Okay.
And I don't know if you look at that, that's how I was feeling for like a long time, like
Wow.
I think, and I'd have dreams about being underground all the time, like being in the dark,
That sounds scary.
being under a mountain, being in
Yeah.
in a cave, in a tunnel,
Yeah.
like and I think that's like where I was, I was like
Hmm. Yeah.
wherever that space is. Like digging through stuff because after you have like this big bright insight and then you get illuminated into how like dark and like dirty you are, you're like, oh, I'm so like small and sinful compared to like this
Yeah.
big thing, right?
Hmm.
And then yeah, you just go, okay, like now how do I sort that out? And you start digging through all the dirt in your life, all the like crap that you don't want to look at.
Hmm.
And it's horrible. It's just horrible. It's like
Yeah.
it was awful, but I mean it helped, So
Yeah.
and I can't just attribute it to the trip, it was also like I was trying, I was like listening to Jordan Peterson. I'm like, I'm trying to get it together,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I wasn't just like it didn't randomly, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah.
trying to go that way, but it was just, yeah, it hit me like a truck. It was
Yeah. I know
um
exactly what you mean. Like if I wasn't doing the things I'm doing, like I don't attribute everything to fasting, but I think like that has helped me. Like I don't think I'd be where I'm at all today if it wasn't for the amount of fasting I've done. But I don't attribute it to that because it's like, well,
right.
I could have maybe picked up on stuff without it.
Yeah,
I don't
you've
really
it's
know.
like maybe it helps or it's like a tool or like a
Uh-huh.
I don't know, something like so do you think like so it's you feel like it's changed like like it's transformed the way you see things or the way you experience things, or like it's
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
done some like what do
Yeah.
you what do you
I
see that as? Like how did that
I
go?
I don't know. I think I mean, I think you mentioned the whole at kind of end of materialism thing. So I think everybody's kind of going through that, whether they like it or not. So I don't know if I might have ended up here anyway, but I think it
Mhm.
definitely helped break that. And I think it helped me to see the different patterns, like especially in the scripture and stuff, to see um like even growing up, like the book of Revelation or something, if it was ever taught on, it was always like very, very definitive. Like you mentioned, like putting your hand on it or having it under your thumb. It's like um very qualitative, or no, sorry, quantitative rather than qualitative. Like it's gonna happen, it hasn't happened yet, or it's like it's this, it's that, like very just they want to make it precise. And
Mhm.
now then when I was reading through it, I was like, no, it's like it happens, like it's happened in the past and it's happening now and it'll happen in the future, and it happens in big ways and small ways all the time. So I started to see like this parallel thread or pattern or something to things, and then it things start connecting. Like another thing, I was fasting, and me and my youngest sister Natalie, we went out west for the first time. And so I've been curious about like this stupid thing in the Bible where it's talking about the veils, and the veils are like always these three colors, red, blue, and purple, that are like woven together, which is another thing that kind of interests me about your art a little bit too, because you use a lot of blue and stuff. But
I
then
do.
yeah, but and like the reds too. But then and then we were going out west, and then it just started becoming more clear. It was like just seeing the blue sky is clear, the heavens and the red earth. And it was just like, and
Where
then
did you
just the
go?
what? Oh,
Where did you go?
we drove first, we went to Texas to see a friend, then we went to New Mexico, and then Utah, and then
Mm,
Colorado. And then I think no, we went to Arizona also. We went to Grand
okay.
Canyon.
Hit
Yeah.
everything. I love Utah.
Yeah,
I
Utah's
love the
yeah,
Red Rock. Yeah,
yeah,
that's something
yeah.
else.
Yeah, so that kind
Yeah.
of like started changing my perspective, and then picking up on that slowly. And then I kept thinking, what the hell is this purple? Like, what's going on? And then and then I like kept thinking, I've always heard it's associated with royalty. And so I think from what I can gather, it seems to be in the scripture associated with anointing, because the kings are anointed. And so the oil, it's like um, there's a verse in John, First John, it says there are three that bear witness in earth, the water, the spirit, and the blood. And so it's like when God pours out his spirit, it's kind of the anointing of his spirit. So I
Hmm.
started to see it that way. I just started seeing
Yeah.
this weird thread of those three colors just running through so many things. And it was like, even through time, it was like, so you have that's what I mean with fasting. It just got really strange. And it was just like things were clicking, and it was like so father, you have like fathers are like the would be past, because we talk about our fathers or whatever. Then mothers would be present, because it's very like just I don't know, you kind of feel that anyway. It's a mother that's very there. You I don't know. And then children are future. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of like children are kind of purple. Don't like I'm trying to think of how I can explain this. Um yeah, I just started seeing this weird pattern to it with these three colors, and I've never seen in colors before either, so it was very odd.
Huh.
And mother, because we always talk about Mother Earth, so the Earth is red, like, and so
Right, right.
yeah, and then the heavens are blue and everything, and then the purple is just kind of uh, it's kind of what binds the two together. It kind of unites them. So you have the king, and like people are united under the king, like Adam and Eve are kind of what God has joined together, let no man separate. Like you unite under the purple. The purple
Hmm.
is the
The
telos, is that what they
union
say?
of the heaven and earth or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right?
And
Yeah,
it's yeah, and people yeah.
I like
And
that.
so yeah, and so the purple is kind of what fuses them together, I guess. And I guess it's kind of the telos or whatever. So it could be God, or it could be the child also, because the child is the new purpose is direct
Right,
there,
right,
because that's your future in a way. That's
right,
what you have to invest in, what the stay together for the kids. We've heard that too.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Blink-182 too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't
Um,
so I just started seeing, and I mean I don't even know if all that's correct. I just started seeing it that way, and I've never really seen in colors before, and it just started things Yeah, it sounds really like like you said, it sounds new age and weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I know what you mean, at least a little bit. Like I have the same association, obviously, with, I mean, not that it's uncommon, obviously, like red and earth go together, like,
Yeah,
and it that fits with like the feminine or the mother side of things, like like it's always feminine, right? And
yeah,
then blue obviously would be like spirit or mind or the heavens, or
yeah.
like it's the above. So it's like you've got your above and below, but then there has to be something connecting the two things, and that's like, I don't know, that's like where everything happens, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and you're trying to like keep those things balanced,
Yes,
right?
but
So
like the breath, that's kind of what connects them or something. I don't know. It's
yeah,
hard to describe.
something.
Like yeah, it's like in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So you have three right there. You have God, heavens, and the earth.
Mhm.
It's like in the beginning, there's those three.
So the first drawing that I did after I had that really big experience was this mountain. And I
Yeah.
don't know where it came from. It was just super weird. It was like I never drew anything like that before. I just sort of like scribbled it out all at once. And I didn't know what it meant. And I've been thinking about it since I did it. And I think now I think I kind of know what it means, or at least partially, but okay, so Jonathan Peugeot, years later, when I found Peugeot's thing, he made the same image, but when
Oh,
he described it, it was he calls it, I think, the mountain of being, but it's also Eden or paradise.
the
So he has it, so it's a mountain, and then obviously Christ is on top, but then like I don't know, somehow he also unifies the bottom, but it's the same thing. So like at the bottom is death and
I
chaos,
think I've
and
seen this. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
really
there's a little
cool.
skull at the bottom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a serpent in the waters around it or something
Yes.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So, okay, I saw that and I'm like, what? This is a thing? Like this is already a thing? I didn't
Yeah.
know. It just like came up. I just drew it. I didn't have any context for that. I didn't
That's crazy.
know about iconography. It just like spilled out. And then yeah, so I think that that's, and then I was obsessed with that image too for like years in my notebooks. I was scribbling that mountain thing over and over. I'm like trying to formulate kind of like what you're talking about, where you're like trying to understand like this formula, and it can be applied. It's something that can obviously be applied to so many things, right? Like it fits everywhere, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you can make it fit everywhere. Like it's happening all the time. Like it's like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how things work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. And then Jung had talked about it a little bit, and it was like everywhere. It was just everywhere, and I'm like, oh, this is like. So I think it is. It's like being. And then too, so how, I don't know, okay, you're not really into Jung, but maybe you've heard about, there's like the circular images, the mandalas. Okay, so he says it's an image of like the total personality or the self when people do like a circular image.
Okay.
Okay, but the circle, which is an image of wholeness, if you flip it and look down on it, there's a point in the middle, and if you extend it up, it is now a mountain.
Yeah.
Like
No,
if
I see it.
like
I see
yeah,
it.
if you like
No, no, no,
turn
yeah.
it, so it's
Yeah.
the same layout and dynamic, like it's the same process or something, it like represents something of the same thing, but it's different. Like I don't, it really trips me out sometimes. Yeah, so anyway, so this mountain thing is like, yeah, there's the blue above, and then I do blue, everything blue. It really drives me crazy. I'm trying to stop, but
No, I like it. Blue's my favorite color. So I'm like,
me
yeah.
too. I have like a million blue pencils. I run through them like
Nice.
crazy because they're colored pencils. But yeah, and then so like the red below, and then that just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, it's like the thing that ties them together is like your being, like your consciousness that experiences like things from above and things from below.
Hmm.
Like you being alive ties those things together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
would it be there if you weren't experiencing it? It doesn't matter. Like
I see.
like like you're there in
I
the
see what you're
middle of it.
saying.
Like yeah. So yeah, so Pedro did that mountain thing and it just blew me away because
That's cool.
that like hit me a few years before it, like, and I was like, oh, this is already like a whole thing. Like people already know about this. I just didn't know about this. But it
Yeah.
just like burst out, it
And
was
then
super cool to me, just like a really strange coincidence
and it confirms
or
like
coincidence.
yeah. It confirms
Yeah.
your experience too and everything. Yeah.
It did to me, yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
it's yeah, yeah.
that's
It
fun.
was like a layout of something. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, I know what
But
you
it
mean. It makes
reminds me of what you're saying.
you start to see it and you're like, you can't,
Yeah.
like you're saying, you're seeing the picture in your head and it's like it's this weird point where you're like, I get it, and then it's like floating away and coming back at the same
Right.
time. And you're like, I can't hold on to it to like put it in words. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't hold on to it. And that's like, that's a big struggle, right? So then I'm like, okay, now I gotta like act out these things that are like coming in, right? Like it has to be incorporated into my behavior or something like that.
Mm.
And I guess that's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like Peterson talks about basically something like you need to like we have to like re-enter the myth, like the mythical world, or like Pageau talks about that. He talks about enchantment and things becoming like re-enchanted, and it's basically like a re-entering the myth,
Hmm.
right? Like that
Yeah.
we lost. And part of doing that though is going like, okay, those weird things that happen are real. It's just they're a different kind of real.
Yeah.
What do I do with them? Like, how do I interact with that? And
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of what you're saying reminds me of that, like kind of almost getting used to that, or like going, okay, what do I do with this? Like, this is
Yeah.
happening, but I don't know where to put it or something.
Yeah. It's kind of like Peugeot talks about, like it's real, and then it becomes material or something. It's like
Yeah.
it's more real because it exists in the heavens or whatever. In a way, it's like it's the idea of it's real and stuff. Because I think he
Yeah.
talks about that, and it sounds really weird with like I'll talk about cities or something. I think he uses the city of London. Have you heard him talk about that
Yeah, the
before?
spirit or something of
Yeah,
the
the spirit
city.
of London. Yeah,
Mm.
but it's like that is true, because if I think he says that if you blew London up, then if there's not that the spirit of London, or not like the idea or I guess it would be more true because it's up in the heavens, the heavenly idea of London, and you couldn't rebuild it, you could never repair it, it'd just
Yeah,
be destroyed.
the ideal form, or not the ideal form, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is he like a Neoplatonist? I don't understand. I'm not really into the whole philosophy stuff. Like I don't know how to talk about it, but
He's so hard to track sometimes.
he is, yeah, he comes,
Yeah.
I don't know where he's coming from, but
Yeah.
he's like way ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I know sometimes I'll like share one of his videos, and I'm like, and then people will just be like, I don't understand it at all, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I do either, but yeah, I'm trying to
I
follow.
think I feel like people who are interested in this are like moving closer to where Peugeot is, but we're
Hmm.
like all, I feel like he's ahead somehow. I don't know how to, it just
Yeah.
feels like things are going that way. I don't know. I don't know, but it
Yeah.
does feel that way.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd like to know more about Jung though, and you bringing him up. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where like I feel like the more I learn and try to uh, think about things for myself, I kind of feel like certain ideas line up with his, but I've never actually studied him before. I'm not against doing it, I just haven't yet. And then I'm kind of a little intimidated because they'll say stuff about him, and they'll be like, "Yeah, but his stuff is just so hard to understand." And I'm like, man, I grew
yeah,
up and
I don't know.
I read Calvin and Hobbes, and that was about it. Then I didn't read the Bible till I was like mid 20s, and so I'm like, that's like all I read was like this little comic, not even comic books in general, just Calvin and Hobbes was it. And so I'm like, which they
Well,
got, at least they're
Calvin and Hobbes is
philosophers.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. So it
don't,
helped me out a
yeah.
little. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, then people be like, when they talk about Jung, or if I see a book that's like this big, I'm like, okay, I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
That's fair enough. That's true. And like not everybody needs to read Young too, but he has a few like more condensed versions for more like somebody who's not trying to read about all, his entire psychology.
Yeah.
Um I'll send those to you, like probably like, oh, what is it called? I'm thinking of the Viktor Frankl one. What is his, like, Man in Search of a Soul, Man in His Search for Meaning? There's one that sounds like that, and there's Man in His Symbols, and those are kind of like a nice introduct, like a good walkthrough of kind of the big points. So you don't really have to read like, the craziest books he's
Yeah.
written to get into it. It can be helpful just to like kind of dip in, and he talks about dreams and the shadow stuff, and I don't know, just symbolism. I mean, I think that's fascinating too,
Yeah.
like symbolic thinking, and that makes like everything richer, I feel like. So
Yeah, it definitely does. So the
yeah.
dream, like you said, dreams and shadow stuff, are they kind of the same a little bit?
I think just because they're coming from that realm of like things you don't know, right?
Is
Like
this
it's coming, yeah, the shadow stuff is like people talk all the time about shadow work or whatever,
yeah.
It's supposed to be like getting in touch with your negative qualities and trying to like get
Is it
with them so they don't run you over.
is it specifically negative usually, or is it just
No,
subconscious?
it doesn't mean, yeah. So people It's people say it like it's always repressed anger, or repressed sexuality, repressed rage. I don't know, violence. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
or resentment, but what it means is that it's just not part of your conscious personality. So like
Okay.
sometimes like you might like if you're really introverted, your shadow side would be really extroverted, like the party guy, right? So it just means it's the side of you that it's there technically, but you don't use it, like
Okay.
um something like that. Like it's something you're not in touch with like consciously.
Okay.
So if that makes sense. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense or not, but
Yeah, it
it's
kind of
like
does. It feels like a vague definition, but it's like I feel like
it's
it's
hard to
supposed to be.
describe.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I
Yeah,
feel like it's
he
one of those things, like one of those symbols where you're not supposed to put your finger on it in a way. Like
a
there's
little
a
bit. He doesn't define things very clearly, and I think it's on purpose. Like I think he says it's on purpose
yeah.
because it's like stuff that's a little bit past grasping. It's like
Mm,
you have to experience it, and then you go, "Oh yeah, that." Like, okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes it's I don't know. It's weird. Sometimes you realize that they're defining it as specifically as they can. It's just like you can't,
you
and
can't always.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know the right way to say it. It's kind of like you describe something in a vague term just because, but it's actually the most specific way you can describe it, because if you describe it anyway, it loses its value, or it loses the application, I guess, in a way. So
Sometimes
like,
you can kill something by trying to nail it down.
yeah, yeah. So if you take the shadow and you're like, well, it's specifically this negative quality, or it's specifically this, then it stops applying. You can't use it. It doesn't apply to everyone then, or something. I don't know. And it's not, yeah, it loses
Yeah,
itself in a way. Yeah.
because it's almost like a dynamic. It's not. It's like the dynamic of things being part of you, but you're not aware of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like if you're overcome by temper tantrums or like moods or something like that, that's like some part of you that's not conscious to you, that's like poking you, and want like maybe wanting to be noticed or something, but it's like you don't think that's you. You're like, that's something else. Like that's not me. That's not like you don't identify yourself as that thing. So you kind of like reject it. And that's where people will talk about, you need to like accept your shadow and things like that. It's like usually it's accepting something that you find unacceptable, that you wouldn't want to be part of yourself, but it's usually not as bad as you think it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
you tend to feel like it's bad, like you have to keep it separate, but it's usually something that's like would probably be helpful if you could get it together, like if you had it closer to
Mm.
you so you could keep track of it or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talks about, I mean, some stuff like that. I mean, he doesn't go over it quite in that way. And then, dreams and like writing them down. And I don't know if you do that or if you're interested. Sounds like you have a lot of dreams.
No, I don't.
Um,
I actually never dreamt until
no?
I purposely started doing that. Exactly what you're talking about. I would
Oh,
start praying, and I mean, I don't know that you necessarily have to pray, or at least maybe go to bed thinking about, hey, I'd like to have a dream, and then purposely writing them down. That's when I started having more dreams, because there's probably a span of my life. I mean, when I was in college, I remember kind of, you said you had when you were talking about, you felt like you were always down in the dark or something like that. I remember I went through a short while where I was having dreams of drowning all the time. Like it was just this recurring dream over and
that's
over.
awful.
Yeah. But then after that, I mean, I don't remember dreaming for years
Huh.
until probably a few years ago. And I started purposely writing them down. And then it was little by little, slowly they'd come and I'd get more and more. Then they'd be more clear. And then sometimes they'd be, I mean, I started where I'd just talk in my phone with like
Mhm.
the dictate thing. And so just like write out on the notes. And then sometimes I can't even, I'm like, why would, like, I didn't say that. But then some of them would be like long, long paragraphs of just all this crazy stuff that happened. But the weird thing is, like, I almost never, ever want to write them down when I wake up. I'm either so tired, or I'll sit there and I'll be like, that's just absurd. That doesn't mean anything. But every time I actually force myself to do it, I'll go back and read it, and I'm like, man, this is amazing stuff here. How this, yeah. So
Yeah, sometimes they are. And,
yeah,
like if you write them down, you usually do get more. Like that's the thing.
yeah,
That's like if you start paying attention, like they come and that's weird
yeah,
too. Like why is
yeah.
that happening?
It's so weird. It's so weird
Yeah.
when they come back. Like, have you ever had that happen? Where it's like I'll wake up and I cannot remember it for the life of me, and I'm like trying to remember it, and then all of a sudden it just feels like like it's this floating thought just coming. That's happened to me like once or twice before, where it's like the dream comes back like after I've been awake for a little bit. It'll like all of a sudden I'll start remembering it again, and I'm like, what the
Yeah.
heck is
And you
going
go,
on?
why did I forget? Why did it go away?
Yeah,
Like you're going, okay, I guess. Yeah, that happened to me the other day. I remembered in the middle of the day. I was like, oh, I think I had a bunch of dreams last night, actually. I like it's really odd.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's weird. Like you interact with them though, you
mm,
know what I mean? Like you pay attention and then they give you more. Like,
yeah, yeah.
okay, that's odd.
Yeah, there's some of them get so weird too. Like whenever after I sold my house, it was this big, like I'm probably too serious and emotional too or something. I don't know. This is a big decision and I could not figure it out for a long time. So finally I decided to sell my house. And I had two dreams after that that were extremely real, where I like was back at my house, but it wasn't my house. Like I knew I had sold it, but I was like vividly there. And it's one of those things where like people talk about teleportation or something, and I'm like, man, I know I didn't physically do it, but it was just so like consciously there. And then it
You were
was
there
like
in
I was,
spirit.
yeah, but I was so freaked out because I was like, the owners are gonna come home, like I can't like, yeah, I was there in spirit. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, and I'm like thinking like, man, was I like some weird ghost in the house? Like it's just
Yeah,
strange.
you're
I don't know.
creeping through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, so yeah, it's weird. Dreams get really strange. I don't know what to make of them either, because I don't think they're just silly, like meaningless things. Like I used to, my like growing up, I just never really thought much of them. But then, I mean, even if you read the Bible, it's all over the Bible. That's how God speaks to people. Angels will come in dreams. Like in Zechariah, one of the things I love is he's always saying the angel that talked with me. And I'm just like, that's such a neat thought, like that there's this spirit or angelic being that can just like give you revelation, basically, like Gabriel in the Bible. He's like the messenger
Yeah.
spirit, and he'll give you messages. So I don't know. And I wonder like if sometimes dreams are like that, where you just have a messenger come and give you images, and then I really don't even know if your consciousness floats off somewhere and you go somewhere else. I mean, obviously you do, because you're not in your bed. Like I don't wake up and I'm like, oh, I remember laying there all night long. It's like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, your consciousness is doing something else,
I was
like busy somewhere else.
doing something fun.
Yeah. Like sometimes I don't know if the dreams mean anything, but sometimes you get them and you go, "Oh, that was something." Like
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't know, like I've had things like announced in dreams before, like a voice that tells you something and you go, "Oh, I have to listen to that." Like that
Can
was
you can
yeah,
you
like
describe any of those or no?
let me think of one like
Okay.
specifically. Like I don't know if this will sound weird, but the first one that jumps in my head, I had a dream about blowing up first a field of trees, like putting explosives under the tree, and they were blowing out of the ground like the whole tree, right?
Dang.
Like completely uprooted. And then I was like up on kind of a mountain or cliffside above there, and a voice said to me, like, to be a slave means to live in fear. Like it announced it to me. And
Wow.
then there was kind of there and then in the dream like a father and a daughter came walking by, and the daughter had like the dad had like a basket of apples, and he was like, well, we're gonna go plant these seeds somewhere else. Like this place is shit. We're like it's so like sorry that we had to like destroy this and go, but we're going somewhere else. And we have like the seed to like, you know, somewhere
Wow.
else. Um and but just the like it was weird, a detached voice that goes like,
Yeah.
here's this pronouncement. Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Wow. That's a cool dream.
Yeah, something. I it
Yeah.
was it affected me. It made me think about Exodus actually. That kind of got me started thinking about like the pattern of Exodus of like leaving and going somewhere else, like tearing out all, roots to something and just like it's like you're going into a new mode of being.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So like it did something. It made me think about Exodus a lot. Like I started trying to do drawings on Exodus, but it's like not going yet. So I'm thinking it
Oh
has
wow.
to bake more. I don't know how else to say it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Are you
that
reading a
kind of
lot
did
there or
that.
no?
Yeah, not right now. I'm like off and on. I'm
Yeah.
reading Answer to Job, which is a Jungian book. I'm like, so I'm also reading Job because I'm
Wow.
working on a kid's book. of Job, right? So I've
I
been
think I
reading
heard that
that
about that. Yeah. Are you
with
doing it with
Chris.
somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Chris wrote
That's
it,
cool.
and then yeah, so we've been talking about that, and that's
I
really
love that
interesting,
book.
but it's crazy. It's so crazy.
Do you like
Um,
it? Do you like Job?
I don't know. I'm scared of it. I'll be honest. It scares me. Like it
it's
scares me.
it's
I
Jordan
yeah.
Peterson's life is kind
I
of the
know.
weird thing too.
Yeah, I know.
He'll talk about it sometimes. I'm like, dude, do you not realize you're living this right now? Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah, he's a living pattern. He's
Yeah. It's probably my
strange.
second favorite book, I think. I
Yeah.
love
What's
that
your
book.
first favorite?
Ecclesiastes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is another one that's not it's not too popular. I feel like at least not around people I'm around with. Yeah. You
Oh,
know,
I don't know. I
but it's
like I always skip the popular. I always
yeah,
read
yeah.
the parts that no one talks about too,
Do
or
you
like
do you have a favorite book or no?
I don't I love Jonah. I really love Jonah.
Oh, that one's great.
And I mean, I do like I like the beginning of Exodus, but I'm like stuck because so many things happen that I
Yeah.
can't seem to get to the middle. I'm like, this is crazy enough. I have to think about the whole beginning just for like a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I went through Genesis for such a long time. Like, I want to say it's a favorite, but it's also like, I don't know, I've just like been there too much or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
those
do
books
like
are loaded.
Revelation, but not in like, it's just so like visually stimulating or like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I'm like you just go what like what's going on like it
Yeah.
the whole thing
I
you
know.
just is like a question mark. You're going wait what
The whole
and
thing is like a trip. Like it kind of is. It's
yeah,
yeah, you're
it is a trip. You're going and what happened like wait but
yeah.
what about yeah. So I don't know if I like it, but I've read it a lot. Like
Oh yeah.
it's yeah. So
Yeah, thinking about it too much. When I first would try to read the Revelation, I'd be trying to think about it, and I'd just be like, I just got to turn my head off because I don't know what's going on. I just got to read it and just try to go for the ride because I don't know where
yeah,
it's going next. And then this lady
it's
shows
too
up and
much.
she has a baby. Then the dragon tries to eat it. And then
Yeah, and you're going wait we need context for like I don't understand why
yeah,
this
I
is
know.
happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if that's like a favorite. And then, like John probably after that. But I have to be honest, I don't read like the gospels as much as like I
Mhm.
could or
Yeah.
should or I don't know, whatever,
I'm
however.
the same way. I'm in the Old Testament most of the time, and I'm like, man,
I like the
I
Old
need to get back
Testament.
in the. I do too. I love it so much. It's just layered with so much stuff. It's like just digging for treasure all the time.
Yeah. Like so many strange things happen. And I don't know, I like maybe I just like the strangeness or like because it's not talked about as much or something, I just go, huh, like what else is there? But
Yeah,
I mean like Ezekiel and Elijah and all that, like those are
I
like
love Ezekiel.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
But I
my.
can't. Go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. No. Oh, I was gonna say. I think it probably is Ecclesiastes, Job, Ezekiel, probably for me.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, and Ezekiel is another one of those that's kind of sometimes feels like Revelation a bit too. It's just a weird imagery. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I like
but
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. Okay, well, like, let's see here. I don't
Do you
know.
need to go soon?
Is this a good point to kind of like wrap this up maybe? I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah, we
we
can do
hit
that.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have maybe just two more questions for you though.
Yeah,
They're kind of simple. Well, maybe I don't know if they're simple. What's your favorite Disney movie?
yeah.
I just like asking people that.
You know what? I don't know what my favorite like is Shrek a Disney movie? No, that's
Yeah,
DreamWorks, isn't it? Is that Disney?
I thought it was. I don't know. I could be.
I just watched Hercules the other day as like I
Yeah.
needed inspiration for like getting into more like kids kind of cartoony
Hmm.
stuff. And I watched that and I was like, wow, this is great. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like I loved like there's all these swirly clouds and stuff and I was like maybe this is where my drawings are coming from. Like all these swirly clouds are present and there's like those little singing pots, those little women that sing, they're hilarious. Like I love
Yeah.
that. So anyway, I just watched that and that was
That was
really
great. Yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Wait, what's your favorite? You have to
Oh man, I
respond
got
in
it. This
kind.
one. Oh,
Yeah.
I probably Jungle Book still. I don't know. That was always my favorite when I was little, and I don't know why. I still love that one.
So I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah,
Forgot
I
about
like
that
that one.
one.
But I think I mean, of course, especially after hearing Jordan Peterson talk about Pinocchio, I rewatched that, and I'm like, this thing's loaded with stuff too. So that's got a lot of good things, and I really love Fox and the Hound a lot too.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. I used to not like it when I was little just because it was sad. Because I was like, I don't
Yeah,
want to watch it, it'll make me sad. But now I'm like, it
right.
is sad, but it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
It is so good. That reminds me of that Robin Hood who's a fox too, and I love that one. That one's
Yeah,
really funny.
that's got
Yeah.
great music in it too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of that. Plus Robin Hood. So
yeah. Okay, my
yeah,
last
okay.
question, and this is a big one. This is probably the biggest question. And toilet paper over or under?
What a horrible question. Over, obviously. Who
Okay,
does the
good, good, good.
why would
Otherwise, you
you
lose all credibility would just go out the window
does
if you said
anyone
under.
say under?
I don't know, but I had this weird like
What kind of
so
animal would do that?
I
Sorry,
don't know.
that's
That's what I was wondering too. I was at my parents' house, and every time I would go use the bathroom, the toilet paper would be under. And I was like, I went to him and I was like, what is going on in this house? Why is it? And they kept denying it. And then it was literally, I don't know if they were just doing it on purpose just to get at me or something. Because it was literally, I went and I changed it to over. And then an hour later, it was back to under. And I was like, no, somebody's doing it in this house. Like, what's wrong? We weren't raised this way.
right. This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny question.
Yeah. It's an
That's a good
important one,
one.
though. It's
I think
important.
so. Yeah, it really tells you a lot about somebody, I think.
Mhm. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So, well, thanks for doing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's been
that was
great.
a great talk. Thanks for reaching
Yeah.
out. I'm glad it didn't go in my spam folder like those other poor people that I didn't respond to yet. So
Yeah. If
yeah,
you
this
ever
was
want to
good.
do this again, let me know. I'd be
For
down to
sure.
doing whatever. Maybe we can hit some
Sure.
other topics, or if you got anything else on your mind,
Probably.
or yeah.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
something will occur to me after like, after a couple days when I go, oh yeah, that crazy thing we brought up. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. And keep it. I love your art too, by the way. It's great. So
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll send you this copy of it. I think it's supposed to save the video and audio. And so I don't know.
Okay. We'll see.
I'll try it. Yeah. I don't know. I'll
I
probably have to
think
do the
like I had a feeling, sorry, randomly, but I had a feeling about like 10 minutes after we started talking that I was like, this is where we should start because now we're like talking,
yeah.
just saying. So maybe I'll
Okay.
find that
So
or
look at
something when
that.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All
We
right.
can dig through it, or I'll
Yeah.
send it to you too.
We'll figure it out. It's not a big deal.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Well, it was
You have a
really
good
nice
night.
talking to you, and we'll talk to you later sometime.
All right. Sounds great. See ya.
Bye.